Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3G's Fitness Podcast, 3 generations of fitness. I am Coach Cisco.
Coach Michael.
Coach Kaya.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do this. This is a disclaimer for today's episode. This is just for educational purposes only. We're going to talk about steroids. Yeah, buddy. That's what everyone wanted to know about. But we're gonna not just talk about it. We have a first-hand user, not an abuser, but a user from the past, and we want to get some insight to kind of know why you did it, what was the experience like, and obviously you're not on it anymore. But and I'm talking about Coach Michael Jeffrey Felcher. So what up, Mike?
I don't know, man. Let's go back about 30, 35, 40 years ago.
All right.
Okay, when I first started.
So like around 80s, 90s?
It was probably around 80, somewhere in the 80s.
When you were what, in your 20s?
How old were you?
I was 20. When I first started, I was 23.
23.
Okay.
That's when I just moved to LA when I was like 21. And the first thing I realized is that everybody's doing it in the bodybuilding field. So if you wanted to be competitive, you really didn't have a choice.
Yep.
And then back then it was illegal, very illegal. You could get arrested and the whole thing. So, you used to have to go across the border, sneak it over.
Ah, my people.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
Ya tú sabes.
You bring it over and you can actually just sell it. When you bring it over here, you go up to Venice and stuff, it was like a big market at that time.
So you were lifting in Venice, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
The Mecca.
The Mecca. Everybody in.
Yeah,
in
so
the
you were
80s,
seeing the
90s were
biggest of the
lifting it.
biggest there. So they're using it. So you're like, wow, And the first thing I started with orals. That was the first. I think it was Decabola at that time.
Oh,
Because it
Debo.
retains
Yeah.
water and it bulks you up, and then
And you're really like diehard bodybuilder at this point, right?
yeah,
At the time? Yeah.
I moved from San Diego to LA to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I think
there it is.
after my first competition in '78, the San Diego Muscle Classic, I made a decision. Hey, I'm gonna pack up and I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna try, like a Hollywood, like a star, like someone that having the ambition to be a star.
Yeah.
I had all these pictures of Arnold and I'm gonna go up to LA, man, and I'm gonna make it.
Yep.
Naturally, my dad said, "You're crazy." And I was like, I'm following my dream, So I moved to LA, and the first place I went was to Venice, and sitting there watching. At the time, it was the old pit. It wasn't the new one that they had. It was the old pit that was like in a hole. But I was sitting there watching. I'm like, wow, man. And then as I was training, I found out that everybody's using. So one of the guys that I was working out with said, hey, I know how to get orals, So I started on our orals. I think it was Decabola. And I moved on, and then it was like, you're going to have to start injecting. I'm like, with a needle? Yeah. I'm like, wow, were you kidding me? And so they had this doctor in the valley that you can go to him and he can teach you how to inject. They would teach you where, which was like on the hip and across. And you would learn how to do it. And then that's when I moved up to test. And man, that was like, go across the border, you bring it over, you don't really know if it's like the top of the grade stuff, but it's,
Which, just for the viewers, is testosterone.
Testosterone.
Yeah, testosterone.
And so, started doing that, and I was getting strong. Then I noticed, man, I'm getting pimples on my back, And like, wow, what's going on, And so I was getting bigger. Then I found out Winstro V, which is vascularity, cuts you up and stuff, And I started going into that, and I started just stacking and stuff. And, it got to a point, I'd been doing it for like, I don't know, 6 years. I was doing it, going through the cycles and everything. I was getting,
How long would your cycles be? How long would your cycles be?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
It was usually a 4 week.
4 weeks on, and then how many weeks off?
When you get to a competition. And back then, it was more short class, medium class, tall.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the classes we had, bikini. And you go into the open. If you made it, you go into the open. You were going against these big guys, tall, big, And it got to a point where you start to think, am I doing the right thing? Because getting sick, skin problems.
Yep.
You're wondering, family members, it was at that time my sister was in LA, was telling me, is this worth it? And you start getting a lot of feedback back. And
Were you having also like some anger management? Or?
yeah, anger management, probably losing your temper, popping off real quick, and then that's when your family starts to realize, hey, is this really what you want to do? You open up your medicine cabinet, you got all this stuff.
Bunch of vials and
you got needles galore. You start to wonder, is this really what you want to do?
Right.
And then you hear about people like Lao Zato at that time who died of steroids. Yes, using too many steroids. He was a raider. So you figured that's why. No, you know who he is. But he died of overdose of steroids and stuff like that. And so you start hearing these stories, man. Then you have to start saying, is it worth it? Is this what you want to do?
Right.
And if you're not winning, then you even start to question yourself.
Yeah.
You're coming in fourth, fifth, and you're doing everything that these guys are doing.
Putting your health on the line. Yeah.
But you're not getting the best of the best. That's one of the problems, guys like Arnold, Lee Haney, Frank Zane, all these guys that were doing it. We're getting the best of the best by Joe Weider. So if you don't get your foot in that door, you're not going to have that big opportunity like these guys and stuff. And I never got my foot in the door. I've gotten close, but never that foot. So you start to make decisions, and by the time I was 30, I made the decision, this is just not really gonna happen.
It's not worth it.
So I got into personal training and stuff like that. That's when I started using my experience and my knowledge, in personal training. And even though, we didn't have the things, you guys got now where certification and stuff like that, it wasn't that big back then. You just go in. But if you would ask me that question, would I do it again if I had that opportunity? Probably so.
Yeah.
Because you get that urge, an urge that I'm sure that you get because you see a lot of things.
That's a guilty little thing. Like, that should be the split screen right there. It's all like Kyle was like smiling like.
If pumping iron,
We'll get to my story later on.
If pumping iron is your thing and you love it, it goes to your head.
Yeah,
it does. And I like that you were saying it because I'm a firm. You hear it all the times, and everyone's doing it. Everyone in the industry is doing it. You always hear that. I've never done it, but you always like when people are always looking at bodybuilders, particularly that
100%.
Everybody's
sport.
doing it. It's
That's
a sport, right?
Yeah.
And you said it. It's all like if everyone is doing it, there's you got to even out the playing field.
You got to even it out.
And that's the thing is that it's I'm glad you were open up about it because it's something where I don't think it's looked down upon today as it was 30 years ago because I think people are a lot more open about it and more of an educational and awareness type of way. Because like I said, one thing that you said is your family started catching on, and it's all like if your family is noticing something and asking you like, is it really worth it? That's probably where you need to take a time out and be like, all right, is this really something that I want to keep doing?
Yeah.
And then
No, because there's a difference
testing.
between use and abuse.
Yeah.
Like some people abuse it. They'll take cycles for you said you guys only do 4-week cycles.
4 weeks.
Which is crazy because the weeks
varies between 4 to 6.
4 to 6. So nowadays when I was first getting into like the whole bodybuilding sport and learning about steroids, people be doing 8 to 12.
How many?
8 to 12 was the norm.
See, it's gotten crazier.
That's what I'm saying.
As you go, but they talk about like going. Let me piggyback on this. They were drug testing. Okay, now what they were doing is that drug testing a written application. is that really drug testing? Asking you questions, do you do this, do you do that? Because they can't drug test.
On the
How
spot.
many competition guys you have in a competition? Maybe 30?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't drug test everyone because what
Right.
the drug test is what about? Back then it was like 100 and something bucks. Now it's like 200 and something.
Yeah.
So you can't drug test everybody. So
Right.
it's more of an application. You know, do you do this? Do you do that? Are you
Yes,
telling
I'm
the
steroid
truth?
free. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you telling the truth?
Yeah.
That's not really drug testing.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how they were drug testing.
I'm sure that's the same way right now too.
Yeah, so they tried to keep it as legal as drug free as possible, but I think it was impossible to keep it drug free because if you want to win, I think any athlete that wants to win and wants to be the best is willing to take that step a little bit further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You were doing it more for the competitive playing field. So
I think athletes that do it just because they want to do it to look big in the gym is completely wrong.
okay.
It's completely wrong. If you're gonna do that, you do it to compete to be the best. That's what you do.
Yeah, but you also
Agreed.
want to make sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even playing fields. Also, you don't want to be like football players that are doing it purposely to be above the playing field.
Well, I don't
Like in baseball, you know, the same thing in baseball.
Right.
You know, we look at Barry Bonds.
I'm sure it
It's just- I
starts
think
off
it's- I
as
think it's
even,
the
but
same
the
thing.
longer you take
you want
it,
to be the best.
You want to be the best, but like you want to make sure you're doing it. What I'm trying to get at, you don't want to be. You want to do it in an even playing field. That's where I feel like it'd be okay. Where we all look down upon it, especially in a competitive sport, is where you're doing it to take an advantage over everybody and not like be above. Like Barry Bonds, you know, Mark McGuire.
But isn't that the competitiveness
That's
in you?
competitiveness in them, but how come we don't have that many like baseball players coming out with like, oh, you know, they're taking PEDs or anything like that, right? So you want to make sure you don't want to be purposely taking. It's weird because I get what you're saying. You're in a competitive sport, so you want to be as competitive as possible, but you don't want to take too many enhancements to be unreachable. You want to make sure you're even playing field. If everyone's taking it like how you said everyone was taking it, then
but that's a whole sport of bodybuilding is trying to be the best bodybuilder you can be. So
Yeah,
at,
but
at
also-
some
are you
point,
the
so at
best?
some point you're gonna get to a point where you're just doing more stuff than other
So are you the best
competitors.
because you're taking steroids, or are you the best because you're the best at working?
Well, that's tough because I mean, you know, everybody's bodies responds differently. But
That's that
I'm sure it
asterisk.
starts off as the whole idea of like, oh, I got to even the playing field because all these other professional bodybuilders are on steroids. But at some point, you'll start abusing them because everyone has, especially in the gym community, we have body dysmorphia, right? And that is going to drive you probably to keep pushing for more and more.
Well, I
and some
think
people do.
All sports, just about all sports have a limit where they will test you to see if you're better than everybody else, except, and I say this, in bodybuilding.
That's what I think. Thank you for clearing. That's what I think. What I was trying to say.
What? Test you, what? Repeat that one more time.
Baseball, football, track, all these other sports will
Boxing,
test you, will drug test you,
Oh, drug test you. Yeah.
make
Okay,
sure
yeah,
that
yeah.
you're not using something to put you in effect, except
Yeah. Bodybuilding. Yeah.
because I think if they take that away from bodybuilding, it's not going to be the
The
sport
whole,
that it is.
exactly. The sport will just kind of dwindle away. We're not going to have the mass
So I
monsters
think-
that we
I
have
think
today.
It's an unfair
That's
thing.
the dark truth behind bodybuilding. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, hey, once again, thank you for opening up on about that because, hey, I know it's a very touchy subject for some people. We want to make sure you guys can just hear from a first-hand experience why, what, you know, we didn't go into detail on like the side effects, but, you know, he already told you some of the things. We don't condone to you guys to just use it, you know, educate
Yeah,
yourself on it.
don't use it just to do it.
Yeah.
Don't use it just to look good in the gym, you know, because now you're talking about your health. And
long-term
and when you get in that competitive level, I think you put health behind you.
Because you're trying to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. To be the best bodybuilder.
Man, so
Yeah.
you guys like, comment, subscribe, share this with us, get us more views, and help us out. Once again, I'm Coach Cisco.
I'm Coach Michael.
Coach Kyle.
Catch you on the next episode.